A new teaser trailer was released for the Edge of Fate reveal, which is on May the 6th. The title of the video is rather long, but it is a teaser trailer. It's only 15 seconds long, so I'll just play through the whole thing and then I'll give my thoughts on it afterwards. So it's very short. There's, at a glance, not that much, but if you think about it for longer than a few minutes, you start realizing things. We'll start at the very start and just sort of gradually go through. This first shot, I don't think there's an awful lot to be completely honest. These rings around the sun look very weird, but I think it's just an artistic choice. I don't really understand how it links into the rest of the teaser. This entire shot is just meant to represent that we are leaving this solar system, our home solar system. So you've obviously got Saturn, Jupiter, and then I reckon that's Uranus and that's Neptune. They seem to be in a bit of a weird order, but then if you consider the size of the planets, it probably does make sense. Obviously, then our Guardian ship comes over. Then it shows us on, I'm assuming, the edge of our solar system. Then there's this satellite, which seems to be receiving a signal, I'm assuming from the system that we then fly to. And it has a date on its display, which I reckon is in the format of day, month, year, with the month being in a 3-character format. So OCT would be October. And as we go through frame by frame, the time is changing. Interestingly, before this pulse, it seems fairly random. So we start on 14, 21, 46, 71, 54. But then after the pulse, we end up on 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and we sort of go up one by one. October changes. The T disappears, we then get an MA, which I'm assuming is for May, and this number, we can't really see what that is, but some people will think this might be time travel related. I'm not entirely sure. It could still be some sort of time dilation. I do quite doubt that it's proper time travel, because I think if we were going to explore that any more than what we already have with the corridors of time and the such, we would have done it with the time rifts on Mars and Titan and the such. So I think we would have done that in our home system as opposed to off somewhere else, which might be a bit of a weak argument, but I think it's a bit of a reach to claim from this date display on a satellite, which is clearly not in a good state, that we're time traveling. But there could still be some sort of time dilation in this new system. We then get to this next shot, which has these green spirally wisps, which I don't think is strand related. People seem to be making the connection of this being green, wispy, therefore it's strand in the weave. I don't think so. I think this is just the Nine's powers, essentially. It could be weave related, to be fair, because I think they're restructuring the order of the planets in this shot. So it could be weave related, but weave, strand, I think it's just related to the Nine's powers, essentially. And these colors aren't quite the right color for strand. We then get a bunch of planets here. There's something like 12 or 13 shown. I don't know if they have any purpose. I don't think we can tell what system this is by the number of planets, because there could be more after this big planet here. In addition to that, whilst Bungie tend to keep quite close to actual science when it comes to planets in space, such as, I mean, Nessus actually does exist in real life. It's just not a centaur inhabited by the Vex. But it does exist in real life, and it does orbit where they say it does in game. They do tend to stick close to what it actually looks like, but once we then get outside of our solar system, I think they have a lot more free creative reign. So this could honestly be anywhere. We then get this planet which has the wisps focusing on it. There's a green sort of pulse coming out from it, and there's this hole almost in the middle of the planet. But it could just be a funky cloud or something. But there's a few theories that I have as to what this could be. We then get shown the Guardian, which I think this is probably just the outfit, like the armor for the actual expansion. In practically every teaser we've ever got and every trailer we've ever got for expansions, the Guardian or the fire team is always wearing the expansion armor set. And I think that's what this is. It does look kind of similar to the ceremonial armor set that we had in like the original Destiny 2 campaign, but I think it's just the expansion armor. But we fast forward past this, then we get a shot of maybe the same planet, maybe a different planet, with the green wisps around it, with the 9 symbols appearing, and then the planet sort of goes all black and we get this solar effect around it. People seem to be saying this is a black hole. I don't think it is. I think it's more likely to be a solar eclipse type thing, because to be fair, a solar eclipse and a black hole, if you look at them side by side, doesn't look that different. And a black hole tends to be a sort of like a smaller circle and then a bigger effect around it. And this just looks more like an eclipse to me. We then get the green wisps going into the middle, and then we get the title card, end card type thing. There's actually quite a lot of interesting stuff on this card, would you believe? So at the top right here, we get Kepler spelled out. It's missing the R, but we can assume that Keppel is finished with an R and it's Kepler. Kepler dot 15. This could be the system, this could be the planet. It's probably the system because NASA seems to tend to denote planets with the name of the system being a word and then a number and then the letter at the end is the planet. So we could say this is Kepler 15, but if we actually look at Kepler 15 on NASA's website, we end up finding out that Kepler 15 only has one planet, Kepler 15b, and it's a gas giant, and that did not look like a gas giant. We then also have Kepler 22b, which is meant to be Earth-like, and we have Kepler 186f, which is also, I think, meant to be Earth-like. But all of these planets are rather far away. I mean, this is 580 light years, this is 640 light years, and then the gas giant one is 2,412 light years away. So I doubt it's either of these, and to be honest, I doubt it's any of the ones we could ever look up. I think this is probably a fictional place. The dot 15, I have no idea what it could relate to. There's also two other things. Down here in the left-hand corner, we have voided, which is spelled out, and then a redacted line appears. The voided could refer to a void being created around a planet. It could be referring to that black hole eclipse-looking thing that we saw. It could also just be referring to the redacted lines which appear. This word up here also is a bit blurry, and I've got a hard time figuring out what this actually is, but if we look at it, it's a CHI, and then what looks like an A or an O or an N or something like that. And then it's a dash, I think, and then a GO. So if we say this is an O, that's probably not an O. It could be an N or an A, which spells out Chingo or Chigo. And I looked that up, and all I get is response for double chin treatments. And I don't think that's accurate. We then get the redacted line up here. So if you look at it in this shot, which is the only shot of the word actually being complete, it looks like an H, but this is just the beginning of the redacted line. The other thing then is this background, which usually means absolutely nothing in all of these trailers, actually has like what looks like pipe work in it and sort of like man-made things. There's also like fungi and stuff, but it's a cave. It's got sort of like pipey sort of supports. So that also implies that whatever planet we're going to has been inhabited in some way or it's been visited before us, which is rather interesting. As for my personal thoughts, this shot of us zipping towards the planet, I think, could be the planet's getting reorganized. Who knows what system this is? I guess we can call it the Kepler system, but there's like 100 of them. If we say this is the Kepler system for ease of saying things, these planets seem to be reorganized, I think, into a certain pattern. Then this planet here is sort of the center point of it. Then this eclipse shot could be that planet then getting the eclipse thing around it, and it shows that the planets are in order, and then an eclipse happens, and that's quite a common thing in media of like getting power and channeling power and the such. The other thing which is a bit interesting is that this planet, whenever you first see it, looks kind of like Nessus or Venus or something. It's red with sort of like greeny, yellowy, brown spots and stuff. But then in this shot of the eclipse, it almost looks like Earth at the top here. There's clouds, it's blue, there's like wee bits of land. It almost looks like Earth, which then begs the question of, is this Earth then having the eclipse? Why didn't we see green wisps from the initial shot down here? Who knows? But the other thing I'm thinking is, we've had no indication currently in the game of why we'd be leaving the solar system, as far as I'm aware. To notice weird activity in another system out there, I don't think would make us go to it by itself. So it could be that it is affecting Earth in some way, and that the Nine are trying to reorganize planets and the such outside of our system, and it's affecting us. It would impose some sort of a home risk, and it would also give us that reason to leave the solar system. So I think that could be a possibility there. But this looks suspiciously Earth-like. For what looked like a reddy green planet to then suddenly be blue is rather odd, and to have clouds and the such. So I feel like this is Earth, and this planet here is probably the one that we're going to be going to, and that somehow the two are linked. That's about it. I'm sure there's probably a lot more in this teaser than what I can break down. I'm rather confident this is the Kepler system, and I do think that there's a good possibility this is Earth. And I would say with like 99.9% certainty, this is obviously the planet we're going to have as a destination. I hope that wasn't too long. I am aware that I just turned a 15-second trailer, of which there's only like 10 seconds of action material, into a 10-minute video. But hey, if you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like, maybe even subscribing, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye-bye.